it is. It's like method acting, because I sink into the pictures, and the rest of life doesn't exist. So when the method actors became what they were acting, what I become is like I'm an archivist of this dark, strange world, and I'm in a great big musty library, which is acres big, full of books and things. I'm leafing through them for ideas, and I go, boom, I'll draw it. Black Templars came from the heart, whereas the previous box cover with the big red Blood Angel Marine on the cover was a very deliberate commercial consideration. I wanted everything to look bright, and the main figure's got a big thick black key line around it, and it's okay doing commercial stuff, but I really wanted to do something darker, and so when we came to the cover, I said to Rick and Alan, I don't want to do one of the big four. I want to do a Marine chapter that's black, because let's face it, all Marines are really black. And so I chose the Black Templars, and that's got a historical relevance, because the Templars were real and very mysterious, and it just appealed to me. So I set about doing the painting, and it took me 3 months to do that, and I sat here for 3 months. I don't believe it. I'm incapable of doing that now, and it was a labour of love though, and of course it's making decisions about that, what markings go with what squads, etc, etc. I just painted what looks good, and the poor writers have had to sort of make sure that the characters in the picture now fit their text. There was no text at the time. It didn't seem to matter at the time, because in the bad old days, there's no such thing as IP, or we weren't aware of it anyway. So there's a lot more freedom involved with doing paintings, and yeah, I was sort of half happy with it, half not, as all artists are. They're never happy with what they do. I think all artists suffer from imposter syndrome. I just go, well, other artists do it so much better than me, but yeah, it's a fun cover. And is it 20 years ago? Is it 30 years ago? Who knows? I forget. But all that time ago, and it's still having relevance through the 40k universe, and that's been really good to see. Sisters of Battle, yeah. You see, again, I thought, well, yeah, the models are fantastic, and Jez is so consummate at doing concepts of figures down to every tiny little detail. And I wanted to do something that's more emotional. So, basically what we got is Debbie Harry and the big nasty high heels. But yet again, the historical relevance creeps in. It's had such a huge impact on my colleagues at work. It wasn't news to me. I just filled the background with all sorts of mad, crazy characters. All the militia and the priests and the zealots, and it's Sisters of Battle. It's the opportunity to go a bit wild with all that stuff, and so it exists. It's quite Black Templars, the Blood Angel and that piece are quite large. I think they're all on A1 boards, so that's why primarily it took a long time to do, and so it's kind of imbued with lots of detail. It's an emotional statement, and it's not just a painting of the miniatures. You could, if you want the miniatures, you can buy the miniatures and paint them. But I'm sort of doing something a bit more, something that leads the eye into this other absolute mad, strange universe of crazy characters. I did do it for the cover. I mean, I was in the lucky situation. I'd say to people, I'm going to do that one, I'm going to do that one. But being more or less responsible for commissioning pieces from outside artists, or just briefing our inside artists, which we would do more and more as time went on, as we built the art department up, and yeah, really good artists. Knight's Panther, it was not in any way a commission from Games Workshop. It's a painting I did for myself. Knight's Panther's miniatures did not exist. I was just so awed by Jericho's painting in the Louvre. I just, always in the back of my mind is like, I think, what would these people do if they were doing a 40k cover? You know, what would it be like? And you know, the chasseurs, les chevals of the Imperial Guard. I like Napoleonic French uniforms anyway. It just stirred me inside, and so I just painted a version of that. You know, I didn't deliberately go for a tribute or a homage. It was just fun on a Sunday afternoon. But we were always hungry for colour work, for Games Workshop products which were moving really fast, and it was really quite hard to fill all the gaps and spaces. So Games Workshop printed that in a gap. Then it got used on the White Dwarf cover. Then they made a unit that were Knights Panthers, and it kind of took off. And again, it's got that historical relevance, really. You know, people seem to get it without perhaps even knowing. Some people know that what painting it is and where it is. Some people don't, never heard of it. It's on my wall because I said to Lynn, my wife, would you like this? She says, yeah. So it goes on the wall. I'm not allowed to touch it or do anything with it forevermore. Emperor on the Golden Throne. I just drew pictures. I wanted to create the immensity of 40k, so I did the Golden Throne, I did the gates to the Golden Throne room, and I did the Emperor. And it was never meant to be the real Emperor, because all these people queue up for generations, all these pilgrims. They finally get to meet the Emperor at the top of the Golden Stair. He's not real. They think he is, but the real Emperor is a corpse in a big glass jar, kept in machines in the background and serviced and kept alive by the Vectus Mechanicus. So not only are the pilgrims been confused by the reality of it, so does many of our people who collect 40k. They think that's the Emperor. Well, it's not the Emperor. The Emperor hasn't got a guide. And the edition after that, I added some colour washes and repainted the face to be more like a skull. And so it's had a new life. A new life, even though it wasn't a living thing. Yeah, deliberately so. Yeah. A lot of people take the Emperor picture as being a literal image of what the Emperor was. It's not even the Emperor. That's just the front bit of the Golden Throne. That's what all these pilgrims have been lining up for decades, not even decades, but generations of people. The whole sense of being has been in this queue. And they get to the Golden Stair, they can give, the Emperor, we can give an offering. And it was never the real Emperor. It's the real Emperor's in bits in a bloody glass tube being kept alive by a giant bubble machine.
Yeah, I mean that to me it's the insistence of having to nail down exactly what something looks like. Why would you want to give up something greater, which is the mystery, like the in fiction we call the closed door, that I will refer to often in fiction, a place or a character that's lost and not seen, or or just hint what it looks like and never ever detail it, because I want to give people's imagination some room. And so many people come, they want to know, like...
They want to buy the miniature.
Yeah, they want the semantics so they can write the miniature, but it's...
like Primarchs, I mean, never meant to be miniatures.
Yeah.
But the hunger for them and the amount of revenue they could bring in made them irresistible. That's kind of analysing it, isn't it? And I never concerned myself with that kind of analytical approach. It just does it, that's what they do. I just hide and draw pictures and I sink into these dark universes. It's true. Other people can do what they like, I don't care.
Yeah, there's two sort of points is that the John's, what he said raised is, one is the history. I just did a tiny anecdote, like you've seen the Ridley Scott's movie, The Duelists. It's a great movie. But in real life, it wasn't 4 duels, it was 47. But you put that in the movie, everybody would think it's a comedy. Like, this can't be real. History always trumps anything we come up with. That's why it's such a rich source to draw upon. That's the one thing, and this is what the people who ignore it, they do it at their peril. It's and as for, I think the terms art and illustration in games get mixed up a lot, because if there is already somebody's designed let's use a Space Marine, it's the insignia, how everything looks, what are the proportions, and then does it on pose. And then does a photoreal version of that. That's an illustration. And I am not slugging that off, that's a great skill. I respect that a lot. But an art like, let's say, you did the Kaye Space Marines and the great 2 tusks. That was a new idea, and that didn't exist before. That's art. And again, I am not saying this is above this or the other, but I do think you need the art in order for you to do illustrations, because otherwise you have nothing to illustrate. I'm not necessarily saying those are the right English terms, but you see the difference.
It was just Goodwin that first put Tuths on a Chaos Terminator. I just thought, wow, that is a stunning idea. So, next opportunity I got to draw it, I'll do it in bigger Tuths, big mammoth Tuths.
Yeah. And now they're iconic. But that's what I mean.
They're iconic, yeah. It's like... It is. It's like method acting. So I sink into the pictures, and the rest of life doesn't exist. So when the method actors became what they were acting, what I become is like I'm an archivist of this dark, strange world, and I'm in a great big musty library, which is acres big, full of books and things. I'm leafing through them for ideas, and I go, boom, I'll draw it. It's play acting to myself.
For me, I want, like I said, there's a couple of seminal on my career. It's the Gary Gygax's D&D Red Box. It's the Warhammer 3rd edition was probably the one that really got me, and then Tolkien's Middle-earth. And what I really want, and what those, the stories, games, they made me want, is to give that kind of experiences to others. ultimately, and why I enjoy the Mordheim community so much, because of all the real creativity and the innovation I see from the community. That's what I wanted, because that's what those games gave to me. And that's ultimately, that's the biggest thing I think you can sort of, as a creator of this kind of gaming content, you can give to other people, apart from obviously enjoyable games and great art to look. But and I'm not obviously demanding, like John said, there actually is nothing wrong being just a miniature collector. You just saw something and you want a miniature and buy it. That's not the wrong way to do it. But if you ask sort of my ultimate ambition, it would be to inspire. I am hoping, I never get to meet Gary Gygax, and most of pity, but I did get to meet you and Rick. That's great. I didn't get to meet Tolkien. Oh man, that's a tough one. But I hope there is some young lads and lass, and they will get inspired what we've done, and they become the next the generation. There is a great quote by Miyamoto Musashi. He talks about the iron, that while he's dying, his own limbs are weak, but he says that the strength never wanes; it just passes on. So that's, I mean, obviously, I am neither one of us are planning to stop anytime soon. But ultimately, what I hope is that we can be part of this tradition of the.
Well, biologists can't stop me, but
Yeah.
it's losing. Do you know, I think my best example of art directing was that I'd commissioned the cover from Adrian Smith. Space Sulk cover was a revelation to everybody. Set me up, obviously, because of the mischief here, and commissioned Adrian Smith to do the cover, and I wanted it to be very, very black, like you're really in the catacombs of a Space Sulk. And so when it came back, graphic designers were going, it's black, I wonder what colour we should do the logo in. It'd be a bit bright, contrast with the black. And I'd say, no, you wouldn't do that. Okay, red, no, you wouldn't do that. Blue then, no, you wouldn't do that. What would you do, John? Black? What? Black logo on a black painting? Yep, try it. But put an electric blue key line around it, and it would jump out at you. You see, and I love the result. I'm so proud of that result. And it's something I should have been trying harder with other products as well. It's all a bit difficult. You know, getting old, having diabetes, and then renal failure, and I just wanted to draw pictures, which is what I've spent the last 10 years doing, really. Concepts, and even more concepts. And whilst a few seem to get published, particularly White Dwarf, there's thousands of them, all in folders that nobody will ever get to see. Well, in terms of their influence over miniatures, you do get to see them. Oh, Rat Spike. Right, Brian Ansell was always keen and happy to invent relationships out of commercial artists at that time. Because I knew these people, I could talk to them direct, and Brian asked me to contact Ian Miller, see if he was interested in doing a few bits with Games Workshop, and Ian came up, and he was going to do some full pages and odds and sods, and for 40k mainly, did do a bit of chaos. And at the time, we were bringing out paperback stories, and it became a good idea for Ian was to become the bloke who sees all that through. I don't know, we called him a manager of publications. It doesn't sound right for Ian. Anyway, I remember going down to, Ian lives in Brighton. I got on my Harley, and it rained all the way. I stopped off with a friend in Wimbledon, and I was drenched. But I got to Ian safely the next day, and Brian had communicated with us that it'd be a good idea if we did an art book together. And of course, we both went, oh, that'd be good, yeah. So we did it in his studio down Brighton, ripping up bits of paper and moving photocopies around, and that was great fun. And trouble is, like I said, days before IP. So Ian was sticking stuff in there that was his. I was sticking stuff in there that was mine. And because it is a Games Workshop publication, the IP becomes Games Workshop's. Yeah, what a mess. It just seemed easy at the time, all those years ago. Voodoo Forest was because my work for Games Workshop was always fast and expressive. In the 70s, I was drawing very tight, pointillist work, and I had a bit of a hankering to draw something really slowly and carefully and see what happens. So on Sundays, I'll dot, dot, dash, dash, dot, dash, dot, dash. And after about, God knows, between 5 and 10 years, I got a pile of drawings. At the same time, I was approached by Kaye, an Italian underground comics publisher, who said, have you got anything you want publishing, John? I went, wow, underground comics publisher, right up my street, 1969, all over again. Hate the big boys. So we did the book. I'd done one for myself, self-finance. But this one was like a lot more illustrations, twice the number or 3 times the number, and it's called Voodoo Forest, and yeah, it's again it moves away from orcs and goblins and mad people into much more pastoral climes. I'm surrounded by trees here, and I love watching the weather, and I love natural history and geology, and I was just putting that into these pictures, and so it was. And there's a second volume coming out this autumn, which does deal with the characters of the Voodoo Forest. Yeah, full of weirdos. And it's in colour this time. And that's one of the big structures of 40k, is to get that historical relevance. Like Marines are supposed to be medieval knights, in all their heraldic panoply, and Imperial Guard, everybody knows what Imperial Guard is, and that's where it all comes from. Because it's got a historical relevance, for me anyway, everything becomes real at that point. Some people want to make 40k the Second World War. No, it's not. It's not the Second World War at all. It's a big medieval monolith that really makes ironic comments about the world as it's been and as it is now. I like imbuing art with a bit of real history, so it gives them a reality, even if we don't quite know what that reality is. And so to do that is always successful. After that, I just don't know, because I don't think I'm capable of drawing lots and lots of pictures. I've got a pile of colour vignettes here. I'm not finished yet.